y'all, welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Coco. I'm your girl Coco, and today in this episode we will be discussing the poly life, y'all. So you clicked on it, you saw the title, you clicked on it, you were like, ooh, I want to hear what she's going to be talking about with this episode. I'm interested. So we're just going to jump right into it. But before we jump right into it, let me get into why I wanted to do this episode. I wanted to do this episode on the poly life because it has become such a huge topic of discussion all over social media. And I am seeing more and more people who are openly poly, who are openly saying that they want to be a part of a poly relationship. And I don't know, I'm going to be honest. I don't know. Well, I didn't know much about the poly life until I did my research that I'm about to share with you guys. But I knew enough to know that it's not for me. I knew that much. So, I just want to start off by saying that I'm not now, nor have I ever been or desired to be poly. It's just not for me. Like I just said, it's just not for me. I'm not, if that's your thing, that you get down. Do you, baby boo, have a ball with it, but it's not for me. Okay, I don't desire it, and it's just not my thing. However, more and more people seem to be living that lifestyle, which made me want to, look a little deeper into it. And while I have had couples, not many couples, approach me to date them, I respectfully declined. I wasn't rude. I wasn't nasty. My demeanor was cool, calm, and collected. Like, I was cool. Like, thank you. I'm flattered, but I'm just not interested. And that was the end of it. They wasn't getting mad, calling me out my name and all that jazz. We went our separate ways out of the end of the conversation, and that was that. Now, we're going to start off with polyamory. Now, polyamory, for those of you who don't know, a lot of y'all know, but there are people who don't. So I got to tell them, I got to let them know what polyamory is, because they don't know. Polyamory is a form of ethical or consensual non-monogamy that involves having romantic or sexual relationships with multiple partners at the same time. Ethical or consensual non-monogamy describes relationships in which all parties are aware of and consent to practice non-monogamy. Now, some people get polyamory and polygamy mixed up. Now, I wasn't ever one of those people, but yeah, they get them mixed up. Polyamory is legal, polygamy is not. You can't legally marry multiple partners, but having a relationship with multiple partners is fine. For example, a married couple can legally date another person or people, but cannot legally marry any of them in the U.S. Now, I will say this. Now, that show where, I don't know, I forgot the name of the show now, but I know y'all know what I'm talking about. With the guy, and he had married, I think he had 5 wives. And they lived in Utah. And Utah was very accepting of, the plural. They call it the plural family life, or polygamy, or whatever you want to call it. They lived in Utah, and I believe they were saying that was the only place they could really live, where it was where people wouldn't bother them. But anyway, another thing that I found out, they have a Poly Life app. And the Poly Life app is a way to link calendars with partners and metamors. You can also separate prior connections or whatever you have going on into groups for group texting and contacts, etc. So I thought that was a little interesting tidbit because I didn't even know they had a Poly Life app. Now, there are rules to the Poly Life, for those of you who didn't know. I didn't know. Okay, because like I said, I only knew enough to know that it wasn't for me. And even after doing all this research, it's still not for me. But like I said, if that's your thing, baby, have a ball. The rules are to, one, establish how much you want to share with each other. Okay? And whatever the word share entails in that, as far as the poly life is concerned, you need to establish how much of that sharing you want to do. Share in whatever way, you need to figure that out. Number 2, make time for just the two of you. So even though, you might be a couple who is like interested in having, someone else in your relationship, you still need to make time for just the two of you. Because if you started out just the two of you and I'm guessing that's what they mean. Don't let me get to making any assumptions because I don't know. Number 3, set boundaries. Now, we all know what they mean by set boundaries. Everybody should have those. I don't care what kind of relationship you're in. You should have fucking boundaries. They should exist and they should be enforced fiercely. Also, respect your partners. That's another rule. Another one is keep your expectations realistic. Now, I know a lot of people are out there wanting to be poly because of some fantasy shit that they got going on in their mind that have nothing to do with the reality of being in a fucking poly relationship. I know there's a lot of people out there like that. Yeah. And it's hilarious. It's quite hilarious. Another rule is maintain constant and open communication. It might I add comprehension to that, because communication without comprehension doesn't mean shit. Okay? Doesn't mean a motherfucking thing. Don't mean anything. I don't care what kind of relationship you're in. Open and constant communication with comprehension should be a part of any relationship. Not just a poly one, but any and all, okay? The last one that they had was make the most of your me time. Everyone should have me time. I have to have some every day. If I don't get any, I am a real bitch. And I am not afraid to say that. I love my own company. I love spending time with myself. And, I just, if I don't get any me time, it's, you don't want to be around me. Put it like that. I don't want to be around me if I haven't had any time to myself all day. I start to irritate the fuck out of my own self because I have spent my whole day running around doing other things for other folks, i.e., aka rather my children, and I need a break. Yeah, I need a fucking break at some point in the day to just be to myself. And there's nothing wrong with saying that shit. I make no apologies for it. And I tell my kids, I will be to myself for a minute. Don't bother me. And they don't care. So anyway, okay, so this information right here I got from USA Today. Now, the title of this is What is Polyamory? What to know about poly relationships. Okay, so 2 people fall in love. They get married and they stay exclusive for the rest of their lives. That's the classic monogamy for you. However, not everyone follows this trajectory. Okay? Not everyone sticks to that. Some people might find they feel more comfortable and more like themselves if they are in a polyamorous relationships. What does polyamorous mean? Now, here is another definition that I found. Polyamory means, quote unquote, multiple loves. A word coined in the late 20th century with Greek and Latin roots. It usually describes a particular approach to consensual non-monogamy that prioritizes ongoing emotional and sexual connections with multiple partners. Sheila Addison, a family and marriage therapist, previously told USA Today, it's not to be confused with polyamory, aka multiple wives. Polygamy, is not to be confused with polygamy, aka multiple wives, something typically associated with religious or cultural practice. So she is the one who gave this definition, and I had no idea that it was a Greek word with Latin roots. I did not know that. So I learned something new when I found that out too. In the U.S., it does not. Well, okay, let me go back to that. In the U.S., it dates back to at least the free love and transcendentalist movements. I'm sorry, y'all. Like, that is, when I was doing the research for this, I kept trying to say that word, and I was like, fuck it, I can't get it out. It's like I can read it and say it in my head, but when I tried to say it out loud, I was like, oh baby, no, we're not winning with that. So yeah, if you have an idea of what I was trying to say, kudos to you. And if you don't, I don't know what to tell you, because I'm not gonna try to say it again. Now, moving right along. That word, transcendentalist, well, I did just say it again, so I guess I lied. Transcendentalist movements in the 19th century, though it grew popular with the counterculture and sexual liberation movements of the 60s and 70s, Adrian Davis, professor of law and founder and co-director of the Law and Culture Initiative at Washington University in St. Louis, also previously told USA Today. She also said, I believe one could say that it is in a third wave today, with many people practicing it, especially on the West Coast and Pacific Northwest, Davis said. According to a 2016 study that sampled U.S. Census data from single adults, 20% of participants reported engaging in consensual non-monogamy at some point in their lifetime. Okay, so what is a poly relationship? What is ethical non-monogamy? Consensual or ethical non-monogamy is synonymous and ways to describe polyamorous relationships. Polyamory is a type of consensual non-monogamy per Psychology Today. So that's what Psychology Today gave this description of consensual or ethical non-monogamy. Solo polyamory. That is when polyamorous have multiple relationships, but do not become intertwined with other people, Davis said. So I'm not going to try to get into depth about that, because like I said, I had to do research on this because I didn't know really anything about it. So what I'm giving you, just pick it on up, okay? If you want to know some more things, you're going to have to look this stuff up yourself, because I'm not going to try to elaborate on something I don't know anything about and that I'm not a part of in any way. Like I don't participate in poly life at all in any way. There's kitchen table polyamory. and that is a family-like bond between partners, where a family-like bond between partners is encouraged. The web of all these relationships is referred to as a polycule. And I thought that was very interesting. A polycule. Like, I was like, polycule? Okay, what is that? Is polyamory a sexuality? No. Anyone of any gender or sexual orientation partakes in polyamory. Some people are in for sex, but others are for emotional intimacy or a combination of the two, Davis said. Addison added, some people who are sexual and or aromatic may identify as polyamorous as well, but their descriptions and boundaries around their relationships are going to be personal and self-defined in those cases. Now, from Healthline, it says polyamory can look different from person to person. And Stephanie M. Sullivan said that. Now, Stephanie M. Sullivan has quite a few titles behind her name. And I don't know what some of these stand for, but I'm just going to tell you what they are because they're behind her name. MS, LMFT, MS, and then there's LMFT, and then there's CCTP / Roman numeral 2. I guess what that is. Roman numeral 2, because sometimes capital I's or whatever. But it's a Roman numeral 2. We're gonna leave it at that. Marriage and family therapist and owner of Attunement, who specializes in polyamorous and consensually non-monogamous relationships. So she is all of those things. I don't know what any of those letters stand for. The MS, the LMFT, the CCTP / Roman numeral 2. I don't know what that means. I don't know what any of that means. I don't. So if you're like, dang, you're not gonna say what that means? I don't know. No, I don't know. Each relationship is unique and can be designed in any way that feels right to everyone involved, she explains. However, some common terms are used to describe not only the different types of polyamorous relationships that a person can form, but also the different people involved. So, baby, there are levels to this shit, okay? Levels. Yeah, it's levels to any relationship, but this one right here, the poly life is it got some levels to this stuff, like that I wouldn't even yeah, we about to get into that right now. Okay, so there's the hierarchical rather. I don't know what's wrong with me today. I just cannot talk. Maybe it's the menopause has kicked in, for today. The perimenopause, I should say, has really just showed up and I can't talk. But anyway, and that involves a hierarchy system that includes primary and secondary partners. Primary partners take priority over other partners or relationships. This often describes partners who are married, live together, or have families together. Primary partners can form additional secondary relationships, but these relationships do not have the same level of priority that the primary relationship does. Okay? Now you get into the non-hierarchical. Does not involve any ranking of partners, which means that every relationship or partners, while unique, is viewed equally. So someone in this type of poly relationship with multiple partners would consider these partners equal, even if the relationships all function differently. Okay, and then there's polyfidelity, which is a non-hierarchical with no ranking or partners. However, in this type of relationship, the partners are all exclusive to one another and are not seeking or open to new relationships. So I guess that means that whoever is in this type of poly relationship, you can only be with those people. And if you go outside of that, you're cheating. I'm assuming, because it says polyfidelity, and fidelity means to be faithful, as infidelity means to not be. So I'm guessing that's what that means. Okay. And it often includes two relationship types. Polyfidelity has two relationship types, and one is a triad, which is 3 people who are sexually or romantically involved with each other. And then there's a quad, which is 4 people who are sexually or romantically involved with each other. Then there's a V, which is VEE. That comes from the letter V, describes a relationship in which one partner has 2 separate romantic or sexual partners. Unlike a triad, in which all 3 individuals are in the relationship together, the partners of the shared person in the V are not involved with one another. Okay? Y'all, this is a lot. I guess it's a lot for me, and it's almost a little confusing because it's like, it's so many dynamics to this. You would have to, I would say you have to actually be in the poly life to really understand it. But it would make more sense to you if you wanted to be a part of it. Like, if you aren't in a poly relationship and you want to be in one, I guess this stuff would make more sense to you because you've probably most likely already done your research on the levels to being in a poly, to being, part of the poly life. Now, solo poly. There's no set definition for this, but it's often used to describe multiple types of polyamorous people, such as those who are single and identify as polyamorous, sometimes called single poly. Those who are in casual or committed polyamorous relationships but choose to live alone, and then those who are in poly relationships and don't live alone but still prioritize themselves or their needs. When someone is solo poly, whether single, dating, or otherwise, the primary focus of their major life decisions is themselves rather than the relationship. Then you have monopoly. Monopoly is a type of relationship in which someone who is monogamous is in a relationship with someone who is poly. This is also sometimes called a hybrid relationship. Now, when I read that, I kind of sat there and thought about that for a few seconds. But I was just like, I don't think I could be as a monogamous type woman. I could not be in a relationship with someone who was poly. I couldn't do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to do it. It also says the person who is poly may decide to follow any type of poly LS, and LS is lifestyle, whether their monogamous partner does or not. Okay? But communication and consent with their monogamous partner is still key. This relationship can be healthy when both partners are getting their needs met, but it can become codependent when taken as a step to save a relationship where one partner has a history of cheating. So, this is the thing that I see all over social media about being poly. This is one of the things. Oh, just be poly because when you're poly, there's no such thing as cheating. Well, according to people who are in a poly-fidelity relationship, yes, there is. And according to what I just read, yeah, because if you say to your partner, why don't we just be poly? And this is coming from a person who is cheating. Well, why don't we just try the poly life, because blah, blah, blah. If you don't want that and you succumb to that suggestion just so that you can keep that person with you and they have a history of cheating, the only thing that they're going to do is continue to cheat. But now you know about it. They feel like because, you're going along with the poly thing, and I don't mean it in a, derogatory way when I say the poly thing, but okay, so you cool with it now. So now I can't be seen as being a cheater, right? It's not cheating. Because now you know about it and you're cool with us bringing me bringing other people in. No, There are a lot of things that I have seen and heard about people doing, whether it's sexually or being poly, trying to be poly, just because they're trying to save their relationship. And I'm sorry, but I don't want to be with nobody that motherfucking bad. I'm not doing anything sexually to save my relationship that I don't want to do. If I don't feel it's for me, I'm not fucking doing it. And I don't give a fuck how that makes me sound. I don't care if I end up in a relationship and that is what ends it. I don't give a fuck. If I don't want to do something that I feel is compromising to who I am as a person, anything that makes me comfortable, anything that fucks with my peace of mind, then baby, toodle fucking loo. Okay? I really don't care. I have zero fucks to give. What time you leaving? Because you can get the fuck on at any time. Don't care. It also says that polywebs are also called family polys. Polywebs are also called polyfamilies or sometimes polycules, and they describe people who are all connected through polyamorous lifestyles. People who are part of polywebs or families aren't always necessarily romantically involved with each other. Sometimes they're simply connected through their various partners. And that's why it's a polyweb. It's like a web of different poly families. Like they're just all I don't know, like a community. I don't know if for lack of, better trying to explain it, I guess that's what you could call it. Polywebs may sometimes live together or near each other and may share household duties as well as date nights. This setup is especially popular in the queer community, where it can serve as a chosen family for people estranged from their biological families. Dating a unicorn. Now, I know what a unicorn is. I knew what a unicorn was before I did this relationship research. Lord, what is wrong with me? I knew what that was before I did the research because of these type of people I am in certain types of chat groups that I'm in. So I knew what a unicorn was. But for those of you who don't know, it is a bisexual or pansexual, okay? And pansexual is attracted to someone who identifies as any gender or no gender at all. Poly is a bisexual or pansexual poly woman who was willing to be in a relationship with an established, usually heterosexual couple. Generally, the term is seen as derogatory because of the implications of the purely sexual role that the unicorn will play in the relationship. Roughly 4 to 5% of people in the U.S. are currently in romantic, non-monogamous relationships, including poly, according to research done in 2021. That same research suggests that over 16% of people may want to try non-monogamy, and up to 10% have tried it at some point in their lives. That is the end of the research that I did. Now, I will say this. There was a lot more that I could have done, but I decided to stop here because if I didn't end it at some point, I would have had probably 2 or 3 more parts to this. And I didn't know if I wanted to go that deep into it. Since I'm not trying to be in that lifestyle, I just thought it was interesting to, find more information out about it. I wanted to learn more about it for myself because I don't like to be ignorant to certain things. But I don't like to be ignorant to anything. Some things I just have no desire to learn about. And then there are things I'm like, you know what? Maybe you should find a little bit more out about this so that you know what really goes on. And this is one of those things I just wanted to know, and I thought that other people might find it interesting to learn about. But if anyone listens to this and decides that, they want to know more, you can always do your own research, or who knows, I don't know if people like this enough, I might do another part to it. I don't know, but that's about it for this episode on the poly life. I don't know if anyone listening is in a poly relationship or wants to be. I don't know if there are some things I left out. Feel free to let me know at the end when I finally stop talking. But yeah, I'm glad that I did the research on that because I learned some things. I did, and things that I did not know, things that are very interesting. But like I said, I did know enough to know that it's not for me. And on that note, thank y'all for listening. And I'll talk to you next time. Bye.